Thank you for watching my YouTube channel. Please consider subscribing. I really appreciate you guys and your comments and your thumbs up.
You're Darren Carter.
You're damn right I am.
I'm gonna subscribe.
Please subscribe. See you soon.
Everybody listen to Darren Carter. We all know that he's a party starter. So if you want to listen to a podcast for free, listen to our Pocket Party. Pocket Party.
All right, that was my transition. I don't know what I'm doing. Okay, so guys, welcome to Pocket Party Podcast. I'm sure I've done an intro earlier, but just in case I didn't, this is Darren Carter, the party starter, and you are listening to the Pocket Party Podcast. Yes. My guest is looking at me like I'm a nut. Like, why is he doing sound effects? Because that's what I do. Is that a horse in your apartment? What if I literally sat here? You can talk. What if I literally sat here and just did sound effects for 30 minutes?
I'd probably throw you out.
Exactly. Hey, you're gonna be on my podcast, and then I'm just like, so there's this motorcycle. Okay. Anyways, guys, I want to thank my sponsor, the Thai Room, 821 North Hollywood Way in Burbank, California. If you like Thai food, go there. Tell them you want the Darren Carter Friend Special. And the one I want to thank, we have a new, I got a new review on iTunes from REMZ, Rems. Thank you very much. You said some nice stuff, and now I'm up to 3 reviews on iTunes. Woohoo! I'm going to need hundreds if you guys want to put me in the top 10. But I really appreciate my listeners and my fans for keeping me a secret. You guys are the best. A lot of people are like, you know what? A lot of comics, they got fans and listeners that are like, you know what? I'm going to share this stuff and let the world know. I'm going to tweet it out. I'm going to give it 5-star reviews. I'm going to go to YouTube. I'm going to share those links. But you guys are great. You're not like that. You're like, we're going to keep them a secret. We're going to keep this secret party in our pocket. But they keyed. If you've read the credits on today's podcast, you know that our guest is not only has he been on Days of Our Lives and Nick Swardson's Pretend Time, and then Jamie Kennedy's movie called Heckler. That's probably what you know. What you don't know, this guy is incredible, and you are welcome to talk. This is my buddy Dean. I've known Dean for a long time, but I've gotten to know him really well in the last few years. And what I like about Dean, he's unlike any other cog in the wheel here in Hollywood. In Hollywood, what you find is, you know, people that have certain jobs or they do certain things, or I'm rambling a little bit because I just leaned back in my earbuds, like yanked my ear. But I guess I can't lean back then, or I can. You're saying I could switch? No, I don't want to switch because then. Let me just say this. Okay, forget these earbuds. Okay, I get the idea. Oh yeah, there you go. You put a pillow back there. Perfect. All right. So what I like about Dean is he's kind of like imagine a wealthy bachelor who's nocturnal, and he has his ear to the ground on everything. And that's Dean. Dean's great. Dean's got stories, and we're gonna dive deep into it right here, right now. Hi, Dean.
What am I, Bruce Wayne, a wealthy bachelor? What am I? What is there? A cave? A bat cave that I come out of?
I know.
A wealthy.
You
bachelor.
put a joke on social media the other day. You were like, as many of you know, I won the lottery years ago, and I didn't realize it was a joke. I thought it was true.
No, I every once in a while I like to mess with people a little bit, and yeah. I came up with a Facebook post saying, as some of you might know from my childhood and 28 years ago, I am now semi-retired. And then in parentheses, I wrote, as the recipient of freak luck, purchasing a lottery ticket for a neighbor. None of this ever happened. And I tell people, you know, it's the gift that just keeps giving every year.
Yeah.
And so I told the social media people that since I'm in semi-retirement, I'm going to I signed a new band to my fictitious label. I don't have a label.
Yeah, and people I believed it.
I-
What was
a
the
lot of
joke? Was there a
people believed it.
punchline, or did
And
you
I
just,
said the band that I said
Yeah.
the band that I signed was a band called Resting Bitch Face. Okay, and our single would come out next week, and the title of the song was "You'd Gotta Be Crazy to Think I'd Go Out with You." And it got a lot of hits, and people, and then
Yeah.
you approached me and said to me, "Did you really hit the lottery or something?"
because I'm looking for a new sponsor.
Because I'm looking for a new sponsor.
I'm getting tired of Thai food.
But
No, you know what? It's funny. I wrote a joke about resting bitch face. I said my poodle Fifi has resting bitch face whenever she's. I messed up the joke, but something whenever she's asleep, she's got resting bitch face. But
okay,
yeah. But so listen, you're from New York. You're from Queens,
I'm
New York.
originally from Queens, New York, and I've been out here in Los Angeles for 28 years. Came out here. I still remember December 7th, 1989.
Pearl Harbor Day.
It was the 7th is Pearl Harbor, right? Okay.
Yes,
For some
yeah.
reason, I always think the 8th, but you're right. Okay, so it's the 7th. So I've been out here 28 and a half years. Came out here seeking fame and fortune. Started out doing stand-up in New York City. And also was this is where it gets a little interesting. The way I got into stand-up.
Wait, hold that thought
Sure,
real quick.
sure.
I want to get into that, but I want to say the reason I look at the Bruce Wayne thing is because you do have money and you go to bed so
Don't
late.
say that. That's not.
Well, I shouldn't say
have
money,
money.
but I mean, you know what I
We're
mean.
we're in an apartment right now.
I know.
We're in my apartment right now.
When I say money, you live like you want to live. No one's your boss. In other
No
words,
one's my
right?
boss, but just
Yeah.
remember one
Yeah.
thing.
But you go to bed.
Just remember one thing, that the
yeah.
lamp that's on the side of
Yes.
of you right now does not have a shade on it.
That's
so
true. That's true.
give
I'd
you-
ask
I mean,
him.
I don't know
You're
if
right.
I
You're right. I
yeah.
thought you were wealthier until I came here. No offense or anything, but I like what you live. Listen. You live how you want to live. Can I
definitely-
describe
yeah.
your apartment? I'll sit. And
Please.
It's full of Rocky memorabilia. Dumb. It's like a bachelor. It's basically a college kid who grew up and still has money to buy. You know what I mean? Like he's got dumbbells all around. He lives like a man.
I live like a
He
15-year-old.
lives a 15-year-old. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He's got records, books,
Yeah.
posters, Bruce Springsteen, keyboards. He's got a whole sound thing in his apartment. You're right. When I say it's not like a mansion, it's an apartment. But it's like he's got
Mansion. It's 690 square feet.
I said it's not a mansion. I know. It's like I know. But what I'm saying is, you go to bed. When do you go to bed? Like 4 a.m., 5
I
a.m.
usually go to bed about 5:30.
So this guy, no one tells this guy to get up early. Like I'm in bed going to sleep around 2, and I'm like, well, let me check one more Facebook message, and it's him. Hey, buddy boy, how'd the set go tonight? And I'm like, dude, I don't want to get him back and forth. I'm sleepy, and the screen's all super bright. My wife's gonna be like, what the hell are you doing?
Right.
It's like, but yeah. So I love that. Like I have freedom in what I do, and you do
Absolutely.
too. And I would just imagine us, maybe somebody who's listening to this, like if you have a 9-to-5 job, maybe especially one that you don't like, this guy's a trip because he's like, yeah, I'm gonna go up and down Ventura Boulevard and jump rope at 2 a.m. And I'm like,
This is true.
absolutely,
This is
Stallone
Absolutely. But no, that's something I love doing. Actually, I got into this serenity kind of workout where I love going at 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning on Ventura Boulevard or up Lancashire, and I carry a jump rope around my neck or something around my waist, and I have 2 10-pound dumbbells with me. And then their names are Bill and Steven. No, I'm kidding. And, but no, and I love doing that, and I go about 2.5, 3 miles with the weights.
So you're not into let's go to Family Fitness or Planet Fitness. I think only charges $10 a month. Family, one of them I think is it Planet Fitness, $10 a month. Come there on a Friday. It's like, no, those places are packed. You're waiting for machines. People are rude.
I still like working out with weights. I still like going to
No,
the
you're
gym.
not like those packed places.
Yeah,
where
yeah,
it's like,
yeah. But we have such a great gym here
Yeah.
in this building, and it's 24 hours. It's 2 gyms, and there's 2 gyms that are 24 hours here.
Wow.
And it's just great. It's a pleasure to work to be able to work out any time of the night. And I made this post the other day on Facebook. I said, you have sleep issues when you find yourself trolling the streets in search of a lady of the morning. Okay. But no, I getting back to working out. I love doing that late at night. I just like the serenity of it. I put my my iPod on and listen to some good stuff. And
I brought up Planet Fitness because it was in the news a couple of days ago.
What'd they do?
Some lady like had a meltdown over Tootsie Rolls and was throwing computers around, and just it was weird. They handled it very well. The employees, they just calm. She was just like, "This is whatever," and I was like, because I've heard bad things about that chain.
Oh, seriously? Yeah.
A little bit, and then I think my wife looked it up and was like, "Oh, pardon me if I have the name wrong, but I do believe it is Planet Fitness," and it was like $10 a month, and I'm like, well, that's you're gonna attract some. I mean, people that pay $10 a month, some are gonna be responsible and some are gonna be like, yeah, I'll give it a shot. And they don't, you want to go to a place that's like where they respect
$12 a month.
$12 a month, yeah, or $11 a month.
Right.
But yeah, well, yeah. So you got in the.
Well, I'll tell you.
You're in your 50s, I would imagine.
I'm 54 years old. I'm 54 years old right now, and I have a lamp with no lampshade. So things are going the way I thought they would go.
When I say money, because you your side business besides comedy, or maybe it's your main business. I don't know.
I'm a chiropractor. I'm a chiropractor. I've been a chiropractor for 20 years, and I've been a stand-up comedian for 30. But obviously,
both jobs will crack you up.
Both jobs. But no, the way I got into comedy, and then we'll get into the chiropractic. The way I got into comedy was in.
Wait,
go ahead,
guys. They're gonna be like, I'm gonna hit stop when he gets into the chiropractor, because he's not your normal chiropractor. If you're picturing some nerd in a lab coat, like, I'm gonna crack your femur or whatever, your hips and your sciatic, that's boring. This guy's he's awesome, and we'll talk about a lot of cool stuff. But tell us how you got into comedy.
I come out of University of Maryland. I graduated University of Maryland in 1986, and with an accounting degree. And this is what I studied. I studied accounting. I have a 4-year accounting degree. And I moved into Manhattan. Actually, what happened was I moved back home to my parents' house in Queens, New York. And as a graduation present to herself, my mother decided to change my room into a den. So I slept. That was a graduation present to herself. And
she's like, ta-da, Dean's
exactly. So I came home. All my Jimi Hendrix and Bruce Springsteen and my David Cassidy posters were all gone. My blacklight marijuana leaf and my blacklight Jimi Hendrix Woodstock, all gone. And I was living in a very in a den, and I was sleeping in a sleeping bag on the floor. That was and that was later on would become the recipient of a lot of therapy. But I was living. I was sleeping on the floor, and then finally I moved in. For 6 months, I finally got tired of it. I would wake up the next morning with bruises on my wrist from turning in the middle of the night and hitting a night table, a coffee table. It was really an interesting situation. So I moved into Manhattan in May of 1987, and I started living with a headlining comedian. Back then at that time. His name is Kent Casper. And he was a DA, a district attorney in the daytime in the Bronx by Yankee Stadium. And at nighttime, he was a nightclub comic. And he was working Dangerfields and all the clubs that were starting to boom in 87 and in the early 80s. And so I was living with this guy. I knew him from way back as a kid and all that good stuff. We had known each other. Our parents knew each other. Our parents were both friends with each other. So I started living with this guy, and I would run around New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, Pennsylvania, and Maryland, Washington, D.C. area. And I would watch this guy do stand-up, and then I would help him dissect a bit later on in a diner somewhere at 3 o'clock in the morning in Manhattan. We'd go over the act. And finally one day he said, you have to do this. You have to start getting up and doing stand-up. So I put it off for a while out of fear, like most. Like most. I'm sure you remember your very first open mic when you went to, or your first time you ever been on stage. And I finally decided to do so. But in that interim period, I became a male stripper I worked with,
And you had those, with the bruises still from the sleeping in the sleeping bag and hitting
with the
nightstands?
bruises. that seemed to attract the women a little bit more, that I had black and blue marks. But no, what happened was I started working with. I wasn't at Chippendales in New York City. I started working with those guys, and I would MC the shows. I would MC the shows in front of about 400 women in Sayreville, New Jersey, in upstate New York, in Norwalk, Connecticut, wherever.
How did you get that job? Did you have to audition?
No, me and a friend just became friendly with all these male strippers. And we were like, you know something? It was huge at the time, late 80s.
Oh,
that
yeah,
was huge.
Chippendales especially.
Exactly.
I used to do one of my first jokes. I used to do Popeye, and I'd be like, "Shiver me timbers, I couldn't be hipper. Shiver me timbers, I'm a Chippendale stripper."
Oh, that's cool. That's cute.
Yeah, well, no, it was blows me down, I couldn't be hipper. Shiver me timbers, and I would do like this gyration thing, and so I remember Chippendales was a big part of the culture back then.
That was a huge thing. So I somehow got connected with some of these guys that were working there, or they used to strip there, and male strippers. And one thing led to another. Me and a friend started putting up businesses in nightclubs. Hey, well, you know, what do you got on Wednesday night? Well, and I would talk to all these guys in New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, upstate New York, and Brooklyn and Queens and Long Island. And a lot of these guys I'd be talking to these like mob guys, you know, from Brooklyn and Jersey and Staten Island. And I would be like, you know, what do you got like on a Tuesday or Wednesday night? I think I can get 400 girls in here with teased up hair, with, you know, hair like that looks like it was, you know, teased with helium.
Yeah.
And I would, the guys, these, you know, mob guys would be like, "Hey, I could probably get you in here on a, you know, like a Tuesday or Wednesday night." And we would get like 400 women, and I'd have like 4 or 5 strippers working 10 minutes at a time, 12 minutes at a time. And in between, I would be telling jokes. There'll be 400 women, and one stripper would be entertaining a bachelorette party of 12 girls. There's 388 women that are not being taken care of.
Do you remember any of your rap that you would say, any of your, hey?
Oh, it was never anything like that. It was actual jokes. These were actually, I would start
You would be like, hey, ladies, if you like the scenery, let's see some greenery.
I would just do, you know, I would literally do dirty, sexy jokes. And these
Put
women,
a stripper on your zipper.
you might have had this job. You actually might have. But
don't cheat yourself, treat yourself.
there you go. So that's what happened. So I got into this, and so what would happen is the strippers in the back that were like oiling themselves and putting on oil and doing push-ups and working out with weights, they would hear me doing these jokes on stage in front of the 400 women, and they would be like, later on we would go eat at 3 o'clock in the morning at a diner in Manhattan, and they'd be like, you got to get into stand-up. You got to start doing stand-up. The girls love this stuff that you're telling them. So one thing led to another. I started doing open mics, and I was running around back in New York at the time. Was Michael Rappaport, the actor. Michael was on on the shows that I would go on.
Was he doing comedy back then?
He was doing comedy. He would inevitably get into a fight on stage with somebody. He was a character. He was definitely a character to watch on stage. And so it was, I had a good set. The very first show I ever did was at a club called the Eagle Tavern on 7th Avenue and 14th Street in Manhattan. And all the strippers from Chippendales, they came down and watched. And it was really cool. It was a great experience. And I didn't bomb like they say you're going to bomb your very first set. And I owe that to Kent Casper, because I had spent so much time with him watching a headliner, that I was able to. I had a tiny head start than the average open micer. I was running around New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, Pennsylvania to one-nighters and to weekend gigs, and watching a guy who's doing 45 to an hour, and blowing rooms away. I would sit in the diner with him at 3 o'clock in the morning and dissect bits. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how many bits you dissect. You still have to get up on that stage and learn how to tell jokes. And that's how I got into stand-up, and I've been with it ever since. I think I had my first paid gig. When was your first paid gig, Darren? What do you know?
My first paid gig was right away. I mean, it wasn't, honestly, it wasn't.
No, that's fine.
It wasn't like, because I started in Fresno. So Fresno, back then it was a small town, smaller town, and there was only about
smaller than New York.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it's like, yeah, both cities never sleep, but it's Fresno. They don't sleep because they got a meth problem.
Right.
No, but Fresno. I remember like at the time there was this thing called the Comedy Crew.
Okay.
All right, and it was with Mr. E.E. and the Comedy Crew, and I used to have a full head of red hair. And he was like, you know what? You need a name that's memorable. And at the time, there was some singer called Simply Red. I don't know what song it was, but it was Simply Red.
Okay.
Who sang that song? The lady in red.
I know exactly the song.
Dancing with me.
Right.
Is that Simply Red?
I think that is actually. Yes, I do.
Okay. So, anyways, he goes, you're going to be called Simply Red. And I'm like, dude, there's already a Simply Red. He goes, you'll be the Simply Red of comedy.
Simply Reddest.
Yeah, exactly. And I was like, that ain't going to be there. But that was my funny thing with that guy. He would always call me Simply Red. But so he had this thing called the Comedy Crew. And they would pay comics. He would give us $25 right off the bat.
Which was a lot of money.
Yeah, it was probably my third or fourth time I started getting paid. Like to do bowling alleys, these little country bars. Like, we'd go do drug rehabs and I'd get to $25. Sometimes we'd get 50. And it was great, starting out like that. And you had a day job. I worked at radio. And so when I left there and I moved to San Jose, California, that was my first big gig because I worked at Marriott's Great America. That's what it was called at the time. And I did comedy. It was a pilot program to have entertaining people in line for roller coasters. So
interesting.
Yeah, because it's before cell phones. So people would be in line and they're just so bored. And so they were like, we're going to have fire breathers, stilt walkers, jugglers, comedians. I was only a comedian. And, the gig wasn't that good because I got paid $7.35 an hour. So it wasn't like, you know what I mean? It wasn't like entertainment money. It was like, no, you're getting an hourly wage and you're checking in. And eventually he was like, you know what, people, they don't really know that you're a comedian. They just think you're some weirdo walking up to them.
Right.
Because, imagine you're there with
hey,
your friend.
kid, you want to hear a joke?
Yeah, and it sucked because I was a kid. So I'd be like, I was basically their age. I was like 20. And I just turned 21. So people are in line for a roller coaster, and I'm walking up to them. Excuse me. Well, blows me down. I couldn't be hipper. She would be tip of a Chippendale stripper. Cribbity frog. And they're just like, what is going on here? So that my boss was
I'm
like,
asking myself that now.
Yeah, he's like, you don't, because there was no microphone or speaker. He goes, you need to have like a uniform or something. So they gave me like this blinking bow tie and, had some dumb jokes I was supposed to say. Like if someone asks you, which way is the demon roller coaster? I was supposed to point in both directions. It's that way.
Interesting.
Just dumb shit like that, But yeah, so I got paid kind of early on.
It's an interesting feeling when the very first time somebody says coming to our stage, this comedian. That's a very interesting. I love that sentence. Your next comedian.
Yeah.
That was a very interesting thing to hear somebody say that, and then you have to step up to the plate and actually follow through with it. Okay, and then B, going into the room. I don't know how it worked with you guys out on the West Coast, but in our clubs in New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, it was always going into a guy named Sonny or Sal's room in the back where you get paid. And I was fascinated the very first time somebody handed me a 220s and a 10 at a comedy club, Callaloo Comedy Club in Morristown, New Jersey. And I found that really very interesting that I spoke about my grandmother, my grandfather, my mother, my father, my brother, my aunts and uncles, and somebody just handed me over 220s and a 10.
Yeah.
And it's, comics talk about this all the time. Jerry Seinfeld talks about this in his new Netflix special, The Very First Time. And that's when I was sort of bitten by the whole thing. Like, oh, you could get, if you get good at this, you could get paid for this. And
what's sad is that's kind of the wages now for like early on. People love to get away with paying someone $50.
Right.
Like a newer type of comedian.
Absolutely.
I mean, that was, and you're talking like this was like in the 80s.
1987, 88 is when I started getting, 88 and a half is when I started getting paid MC work. 10 minutes up front, 2 in between, in between.
Did you ever like have a flashback to the stripper shows? So you'd be like, our next comedian will get naked. Oh, wait a second. I'm at the wrong show.
I'll tell you, the scariest experience I ever had as a male stripper. I was
Oh, you actually stripped? eventually.
Oh, yeah. What would
You
happen
weren't just
is,
the MC.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. I should tell you, yeah. I would MC the shows, and at the end, the girls would literally almost instinctively or intuitively want to know if I'm going to be taking it
Like,
off.
your turn. Yeah.
Exactly. They'd be like, okay, MC, are you going to take it off? And I just so happened to have been wearing a leopard skin G-string thong that night because all my other Hanes underwear was in the wash. But so I would have I would happen to have a leopard skin G-string, and then I would inevitably take it off. And I was a horrible dancer. I used to tell a joke on stage where I was such a horrible dancer. I was the only male stripper that used to have to show up with a change dispenser on my waist, making change. Girls would hold up dollar bills and go, "Do you have 45 cents change?" It was not a pleasurable thing.
Was that cool when the girls wanted you to strip? You're like, yeah.
Oh yeah. Because we were making.
And they're already aren't they already frothing at the mouth?
Totally, they're totally into us, and we're having a great time.
Because my buddy and I, we used to go to this place called DB Cooper's in San Jose, and it was his idea. Okay, he was like, "Here's what we do," because he was like,
I have a friend. I'm asking for a friend.
But I'll drive
I'm
us
asking
there.
for a friend.
Yeah. Now, we were roommates at the time. He was a black guy. He's kind of overweight, and we used to do this thing. We called ourselves a comedy team where we were like called ourselves Strawberry Fudge. Where I was Strawberry and
Yeah,
you get the idea.
I get it.
You know where this is going. He was Fudge. So we by the way, we stopped calling ourselves that when we did a show in Oakland, and we're like, "What's up, y'all? We're Strawberry Fudge," and somebody yelled out, "Fudge Packers."
Hello.
And we're like, okay, we're gonna stop this name. But his idea was like, okay, because it was a normal nightclub, but they had male dancers on, let's say Monday, and the male dancers would go from like, let's say 8 to 10. So he's like, we gotta show up right at 10:01, and then we'll walk around and we'll wear leather jackets, and girls will think that we were strippers. And so we would try that, and it didn't work for me, anyways.
Well, just holding that thought for 1 second. So what happened was I would inevitably take it off, and we were doing really well. We were making 300 a night. You were in and out in an hour.
Yeah.
And there was other escapades that came with it. There was a lot of perks. We'll leave it at that. After the show, but the scariest experience I ever had, which is also very comedic, excuse me, is we were working a club in Staten Island. I can't even remember the name of the club. I couldn't even remember the names of the characters I'm going to tell you. But this was definitely a very mobbed up club that was on, and that was very par for the course. That's who I did business with in Brooklyn and in or certain places upstate New York and South Jersey. But one night my partner and I do a club in Staten Island, and we were bringing, at the time, the world's most famous male stripper, a gentleman by the name of Michael Rapp, and he's still out there. Michael is not out there as a stripper. He's on Facebook. I speak to him all the time on Facebook. He does a Facebook Live show. He's great guy, and he's a personal trainer these days and doing all sorts of other great things.
Imagine being a stripper on Facebook Live nowadays. That'd be kind of weird.
That'd be a little interesting walking. But he walks the streets of Manhattan, and he does a quarter, almost like a podcast for 25 minutes in the beginning of the day at 6 a.m. in the morning. But how
does he do it? On Periscope or something? Or Facebook Live?
He does it. It's all video.
Oh, just him walking down the street.
And he's just walking.
Yeah.
And he's got so many people that have stayed in his life because he was the guy that was always on. I don't know if you saw back in the late 80s. He was the guy that was on Phil Donahue, Geraldo Rivera show. He was the most famous male stripper. And so this is the funny part. So I bring him to this club in Staten Island, and these shows started at around 11:30 midnight, 12 o'clock midnight on a Tuesday or Wednesday night. And the theory was they don't have any other business that night. It's a school night, quote unquote, okay, for most people. So this is gravy. This is all gravy that's coming in. And so I would bring in me and my partner, my business partner, and 3 or 4 other strippers, and there would be about 300 girls there in this club in Staten Island. And So we get there a little early that night to set up, and the dumbbells and my father's station wagon that we put in the train.
The dumbbells are for backstage?
Oh, yeah. Lifting weights and doing the perfect push-up, that machine.
Yeah.
And then these, so we're bringing everything in, quote unquote, backstage, and all of a sudden, these guys that I knew were definitely connected guys, and they owned the club, definitely connected guys.
Yeah.
And I've never had a bad word with them. All of a sudden, they go, "Hey, Dean, Dan." Dan was my partner at the time, and business partner. He goes, "Hey, take a walk with us." And we go, "Yeah, sure." Can't even remember the guy's name. I couldn't even tell you. And I go, "Yeah, sure."
We'll call him Mr. Soprano.
No, yeah, right. Exactly.
You're like, "Yeah, T, well, how can I help you?"
Hey,
Hey,
T.
hey,
T.
Hey, come on. Yeah.
So the guy takes him and his partner take me and Dan, and me and Dan are like looking at each other like, what did you do? No, what did you do? What is this? So they take us downstairs. This guy's honest truth. They take us downstairs into the basement of the club. And now picture this. This is like, picture a scene from Goodfellas. If this ever happened in Goodfellas, it would be a scene where you would laugh, because all of a sudden you got, De Niro and Ray Liotta and Pesci bringing two guys into a room downstairs in a basement. And since it's exactly what the guys said to me, they go, "I don't understand something. You bringing Michael Rapp here tonight?" And I go, "Yeah, we got him. He'll be upstairs in a little bit." And they go, "He was just in Brooklyn, I don't know, a week and a half ago." And I go, "Yeah, what's the problem?" He goes, "What, are you crazy? How can he compete with Brooklyn, and how can I bring him over here, and they're only 5 miles apart over the bridge?" And I go, and I'm thinking to myself, this guy's not really bringing me downstairs. I thought we were going to be executed and left in cement.
Yeah.
Okay. And I'm like, wait a second, you got to be kidding me on this. I said, "There's no problem. We're gonna have 400 women here tonight. And you didn't tell me I couldn't bring them to Brooklyn."
Yeah.
So that was to this day, I still laugh at the absurdity. I was expecting, you stole money, or where's the money, this and that. And he goes, "You brought a male stripper over from one club to another." And I'm going, "You got to be kidding me. This is what you're giving me a hard time." I was scared for a second, because I thought, did somebody steal money from this guy and he thinks it's me? Something like that.
So you were relieved, or how did you get out of it?
I was very relieved.
How did you guys get out of it?
I told the guy, he said, "You better hope that there's a good crowd turnout here tonight." And I said, "Why would there not be? Everybody loves this guy. The girls go crazy over him. Phil Donahue, Geraldo Rivera show, all this stuff, blah, blah, blah." And so sure enough, we had like about 450 women there that night. And of course, me and Dan were heroes that night.
Were you a little bit nervous though?
Yes, I was very nervous. We were very nervous.
I would
because
be too.
Yeah. Because the fact that they brought us down to the basement was the part that I thought was But then when he said that to me, there was this thing that went on in my head that went, do I break out laughing now, or do I play it really cool and empathetic towards them?
Yeah.
And I decided the smart move was to play it empathetic. I grew up in that neighborhood, so I knew my father knew a lot of those guys growing up, and we'll get into that in a little bit. But we were the heroes, and of course they came over to me and Dan later on and said, "Hey, you guys, another wonderful evening you put together, blah, 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 blah. What do we got? What do we buy you? What are you drinking?" And it was one of those things. And but that was the scariest experience I ever had. But I will tell you, the money was insane. So insane back then that I was able to live in a high-rise building in Manhattan and Mike Tyson was my next door neighbor. I was living next to Mike Tyson. That's how well we were doing at the time. And
this is
1988. This is
dude,
1988.
That was at I mean, the height of
Yeah,
his, like,
yeah. That, but he was like wild back
Tyson.
then.
Yeah.
And he would come home about the
He's
same.
a smart guy.
Oh,
a
he's
really
much
smart
cooler.
guy.
I'll tell you.
Yeah.
So I used to hang out with him late at night on the couch in the doorman building that we were in, and we would shoot the breeze for a few minutes before both of us would decide it's time to go upstairs and get some sleep, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But it would be like 4:00 in the morning. He would go. He would see me. He'd be getting out of his limo, and if he came out of his limo and there were a few women with him, I wouldn't bother him. He'd be like, "Hey man, hey, how's it going? How's everything?" And then he would just
Hey,
go
you still
upstairs.
got that leopard skin?
Right. You still got that leopard skin G-string? So
Yeah.
but when
Are
he
you
was
are you wearing the Hanes tonight?
right. No, but he would, if he was alone and he
Yeah.
didn't have anybody with him out of the limo, he would sit and talk with me on the couch, 15, 20 minutes. And
What would he talk about? What was on his mind at that time?
well, the first thing he said, I'll never forget, he said to me, he goes, "Hey, I got to ask you something." He goes, "I always see that you come home about the same time as I do, like on a Tuesday, Wednesday night." He goes, "It's not even a weekend, man." He goes, "Everybody in this building is like us doctors, lawyers, CPAs, whatever." He goes, "What is it that you do, man?" And I said, "Well, I do male stripping." And he goes, "What?" And I said, like that club on First Avenue, Chippendales, I do like male stripping. He goes, "You mean you got women that like literally put their hands down your pants and put money down your pants, down your G-string?" And I go, yeah. And he was fascinated by that. And he was like, "I can't believe that, man. That's so cool, man." And I said to him, I said, "Mike, you're the heavyweight champ of the world." I said, "You just got $22 million knocking out Spinks at the time." He had just moved in after he knocked out Spinks. And so but the one thing I really got from Mike was he knew his place on the food chain, because his response to me when I said that to him was, I said to him, he had given me that whole commendation of, "I can't believe," you got women putting money down your pants. He goes, "That must be insane, man." And I was like, "What, are you kidding me? You're the heavyweight champ of the world. I see the women that you bring up or out of the limo." And his response was, he goes, "Oh, come on, man. The only reason these people, these women or all these other people that hang on me, these hanger-oners, is because of who I am." He goes, "If I was bagging groceries at Christie's a couple of blocks away, these people wouldn't spit on me." And I was fascinated that Mike left his ego at the door, that he knew why people were hanging on him. And I had a deeper respect for him. I actually liked him. I met him many times, times in the while he was living in the building. We would sit.
See, I love that, because you know what,
All-
I can relate to that, because I know, like, some people just want to be my friend because of the Pocket Party podcast.
Right. Well, you got, what do you have, like 83 viewers or
I'm getting up there.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm it's closer to 43, but
right,
thank
right,
you.
right. But no, you're doing fine. But no,
By the way, we're joking. By the way,
we are joking.
I don't want that one person that does
Right.
listen be like, "There's 82 more people listening."
Rems right now is losing it.
I know he's Rems. I know.
Right.
I know the guy that
Poor
left the iTunes,
Rems.
the
Rems
iTunes.
is going. I thought I was his guy.
And Lee Meyerhofer, I think is his name. That guy left me a great review. I know I'm getting distracted.
By the way, when the planes are flying over right
Yeah.
now, is that picking up on the sound?
It
No.
might be, but it's ambiance. It's
Okay,
like, it's
good.
like, and cue the plane.
So right. Cue the plane. So but Mike was an interesting guy, and that was an interesting period when he was living
Lee Meyerhofer, love
next
you,
door
buddy.
to me.
Thank you.
And we were talking two different things right now. You're talking about Lee Meyerhofer.
That's okay.
No. How
wanna-
is Lee, by the way?
He's great. You know, he's the very first guy that left a comment on YouTube. The very first time I uploaded a podcast.
Ever.
For this podcast, I was nervous as hell. I was like, "Well, I guess I'm back in the podcast game," because I used to do one. You know,
'Cause you got a good
back in
one.
the day, I had 213 episodes. My partner quit, and then I let some time go by. I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to do podcasting for a while, and I let a few years goes by, and then I got back in the game a couple months ago, and I love it, man. I love these conversations.
I listened to a few.
Thank you.
I listened to a few of yours, and you do a good job. You have a great voice for the quote unquote for radio, whatever however you. I don't know if that's the expression anymore.
No, I gotcha. Tell me about the mob. You said you grew up. Your dad was around that.
I
back
grew up in Queens, New York. My
Yeah.
father was, if anybody out there is familiar with the movie Goodfellas, my father, and I'm sure you are, Darren. You are, right? I'm assuming. My father was He was in the beginning of the movie when Henry Hill, Ray Liotta's character, is parking cars for the mob and everything like that. My father was that version on the Lower East Side in Manhattan for what was called Murder Incorporated. Okay, that was like Bugsy Siegel, Meyer Lansky, Lucky Luciano, and a lot of other really, really bad guys. And my father was a little boy, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, and he lived on the Lower East Side, and he would do favors for these guys.
Was that in the 50s?
No, this is 1937.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, this is just shy of almost about 80 some odd years ago.
Wow.
Yeah, 81 years ago. And they liked him. He was a cute kid and everything, and they would send him for sandwiches at that Katz's Deli and all the Ratners and all these places that probably don't mean anything to you, but any
I've
of
heard
your
of Katz's Deli.
yeah, Katz's Deli, a very famous deli. And
is it overrated or is it good now?
no, it was good. I actually went there in August.
What's the best deli in L.A.?
Best deli in L.A.? Best deli in L.A. I would have to say, I mean, there's some like Nate and Al's people talk about.
I gotta go there. I know. Here's what I know. I know
Cantor's.
I love
Cantor's Deli.
I like Greenblatt's because it's next to the
Greenblatt's.
Laugh Factory. I like Greenblatt's.
Greenblatt's is great.
Yeah.
I would say there's 3 or 4 great delis out here.
Jerry's Deli. Is that even a deli really, or it's more like a sort of
No comment from me. I
Yeah.
mean on that, but
No
growing
comment.
up,
What are they?
growing up where
Are they
I grew
sponsor
up,
your podcast?
Yeah, right. Growing up, right now the people at the Thai place are going, no, he's drifting. He's drifting. Stay with
Get
Thai
back to
food.
Thai food. Don't be going to no delis.
Right. No Darren Carter special. But $8.95, all the pastrami you can eat. So
I want the Dean Larit special. Walking
Right.
to Cantor's. Yeah.
Right. So my father, getting back to my father,
Yeah.
father worked, did favors for those guys, and the favors were literally buying sandwiches. But here's the kicker: they would give him a $20 bill, 1937, and he would, back then a sandwich was 20 cents. Okay, a full sandwich was 25 cents. So the bill for all these mafioso guys in some room somewhere in an apartment house in the Lower East Side, they would tell my father to keep the change. So my father had $14, $15 a week in 1937 as an 8, 9-year-old boy.
Wow.
His father was driving a cab for $11 a week. Okay, so it was a whole different. It was a very interesting dynamic. So
forgive my ignorance, but when was Prohibition? Was it around that time?
Prohibition, I think, is in the 20s.
The 20s.
Is in the 20s. Well, I think that was with Woodrow Wilson.
Yeah, because my grandfather was born in 1921, and I remember he said when he was
in a barrel. No,
I know. When he was a little boy, he would because they had he would gather bottles and recycle them because it was illegal, but he knew that they were drinking, and he'd go to the speakeasies. So, okay, I'm sorry.
So no, that's my father was always, and he's still alive, thank God. He's 88, but he
Shout out to the dad.
He was like a little bit of a shady guy, He was in the coffee business for 35, 40 years, and he sold.
You don't drink coffee, do you?
No, I have no interest in it. I had nothing. I had pounds and pounds and pounds of coffee in the freezer growing up. I never got into it. I never understood why the whole world has to have this thing. Everything is coffee. Every TV show, everywhere you go, and 2 people walk into a restaurant, coffee. I never understood. Nobody ever says,
Talking to the wrong
hamburger.
guy, buddy.
Nobody ever comes up and goes,
coffee.
hamburger.
Yeah,
Hamburger.
Yeah,
nobody says
I love
that.
coffee, but yeah.
People.
What do you do to wake up then? What if you're drowsy? Do you drink tea? Do you have?
No, I know. You want to know the truth is
natural.
water.
Water and
I like
apples.
water. I like hydrating my cells with water to get the cells turned on. But different strokes for different folks. It never worked for me. My mother and father to this day have 1 to 2 cups a day. My brother can't do a thing without it in the morning. My brother can't do a thing without it. But so I grew up in Queens with that lot of shady people at my house on a Friday night, coming over for cake and coffee and everything. So it was an interesting thing, and I do talk about some of this in my stand-up. I definitely talk about my parents in my stand-up. But it was an interesting childhood, to say the least, because I had some shady characters that would shadow box with me when I was 4 years old. These guys were hitmen, and they were over my parents' house having cake and coffee with their wives. So it was a very interesting way to grow up. But that was Queens. That was Queens, New York.
Did you ever see it get ugly or scary at all, or were they always nice to your father?
Oh, they were always nice. My father knew.
Yeah.
My father was smart enough to never ask a favor. My father was smart enough to never ask a favor. Let's go for dinner. Let's have a good time. You're going to take me out, me and my wife out, which was my mother, for Christmas because of, how I treated you this year with the excess number of pounds of coffee I brought to your restaurant. So, it was that kind of thing. You scratched their back in this case, they scratched yours. And it was but he always knew never to ask any questions and not get involved, and it was better that way. But that was the neighborhood.
It wasn't like, come on over, let's do a podcast.
Yeah, right. Come on over. It's
there
quarter
was a
to
good
12.
river to dump a body.
Right. No, but I'm not trying to sound like some connected guy or something, or some mobbed up guy, but I grew up in Queens, and anyone who's listening to this who might be from the East Coast is going to go, yeah, I know what this guy's talking about. I had those guys in my high school. No big deal. It was not a big thing. We were kids. We grew up playing with their kids. Yeah. So it wasn't a big deal. But it was I wouldn't trade it for anything growing up in Queens. It made me very streetwise, very streetwise enough to not mention any names on this podcast.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. We will mention a couple names. One of the things I like about Dean is he's like like I said, he's like this nocturnal animal. At night, and then during the day, he has the free time to like go wherever he wants. So he started learning patterns of celebrities, of celebrities, and that's funny to me because you'll be like,
yeah, you're fascinated by this.
Yes, because it's one of the things that no one's ever talked to me like that. You're like, Darren, you ever want to meet Eddie Murphy? And what do you say if I ever want to meet Eddie Murphy?
I feel bad now
Just
because I don't want to say it, because then there's going to be stalkers. I'm not going to say where he is.
Okay.
But at 10:30 in the morning, there is a place that Eddie Murphy has been going to every single day, and I'm talking 7 days a week, Saturday and Sunday.
I think it was on TMZ, by the way.
Was it really?
Yeah, because he had a son. He had a guy that claimed he was a son, and then they were like, oh, he goes to this certain coffee place.
I'm not going to say it, but just out of respect, man. Just out of respect for somebody's privacy. But
if you guys want to know, just message me, and I will personally tell you.
Thank you, Darren. But
what I've heard.
But no, he is at this place 7 days a week.
Wow.
At anywhere from 10:30 to 10:45, or that's when the arrival time is. But he sits there. He'll sit there for an hour. And it's just mind-boggling, and nobody bothers him, and but you're just out of respect. I wouldn't say that.
Is it
but,
weird? What if I went?
But I
there
always
once?
joke with you.
I don't want to meet him that way. I want to meet him like
organically.
Yeah, where I do a comedy set. And he tells me that I'm funny. That's what I want to do.
You're probably going to have to wait to do a comedy set at this coffee house that he did, because Eddie Murphy just does not step foot in comedy clubs anymore. I think that's one of the biggest travesties right now in the comedy world. Is that a guy like Eddie Murphy hasn't said to himself, and Eddie, if you're listening out there, which of course I know you're not,
you might be. Eddie.
He just might be.
Thank you. You never know.
You know something? Eddie Murphy might literally be Rems. He could be.
Wow.
He could be Rems, and we don't even know it.
What a trip!
But shout out to Rems, by the way, because I'm sure he's listening. But what I was going to say is that to me is a big travesty, to be so talented and to not be out there crushing it at these theaters now, at these 2,500. Even though he would draw large.
He won an award a couple of years ago, and he did a little bit of stand up.
Right.
Did you see that?
Yeah, I remember
with Bill Cosby.
Yep.
You was Hannibal Buress.
Right.
So funny.
Right. He was great.
Gosh,
and
was good.
That to me is a travesty, that a guy like that is capable of sitting at his mansion home up in Beverly Hills off of Mulholland. If I believe that's where he lives, and that he's able to squash those demons that most comedians have, that they have to go on stage. That he's able to not get the urge to do so, and I to me that's a travesty, because he's such a talented guy, and I do hope in our lifetime that somebody convinces him, whether it's Chappelle or whoever's tight with him, that somebody says, come on, man, Kevin Hart, whatever, whoever it is that is going to be, would say, let's do this.
I mean, every time I hear him on Sirius XM, I laugh. Some of it I've heard before.
One of the funniest ever.
A bunch of times, and I love it. My very first comedian when I grew up, where I was like, what's his name? And I wanted to know who he was, Other comedians made me laugh, and I loved comedy growing up. I used to listen to it more than I watched it.
Who's your favorite now?
Now, do you have a mirror? Just kidding. Yeah, no comedian is their own favorite.
I have
comedian.
a mirror, but I don't have a lampshade.
Oh, it's all dark. Actually,
who's your favorite comic right now?
I don't really have a favorite.
Serious? Okay.
I like Bill Burr. I
love Bill Burr.
But I like bits and pieces of lots of comedians. You know what I mean? Do you have a favorite?
Yes, I do. I would say right now, the funniest comic, possibly pound for pound right now, is, I would say, Sebastian Maniscalco.
So good. Yes.
Okay. I remember, I know him from when he was a waiter at the Four Seasons on Doheny. Okay.
What was his schedule like? No, I'm just kidding.
Well, he would be there a quarter to no.
Jay Leno, real quick. Jay
Leno is
what's his schedule?
Jay Leno is at the Whole Foods on Riverside and Coldwater at least 4 times a month. And I see him once a week there and religiously talk to him all the time. I've done sketches on this Tonight Show with him.
I love that story you told me one time. You're like, Jay, tell us that story.
What did he do?
You saw him at Whole Foods, and then you asked him for a quick favor?
I asked him for a favor, and he did it, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah.
I said to him, Jay,
Jay, it's me, Dean.
I said, and he goes, hey, Dean, how's it going? How's everything? And I said, good. I said, can you do me the tiniest favor? And he pats his pockets like this, and he goes, how much you need? And I go, no, I don't need any money from you. I said, because we're in Whole Foods, everybody thinks you need money. And
You're like, I want to get 2 slices of pizza for $6.
For $1,600.
Yeah, I know.
So he pats his pockets, and I go, no, Jay, I don't need any money. And let's just back up a tad. The reason I know these guys, especially the Lenos, is because I used to be the showroom manager at the Improv in Melrose from 1990 to 93, which was the prime years that those guys were coming in every night. Seinfeld, Wallace, Joyner, Paul Provenza, Richard Jenny. I mean, one of the best.
George Carlin.
Carlin, no, I never saw Carlin in
Bill Cosby.
at the Improv. Never saw Cosby at the Improv.
Eddie Murphy?
Not at Melrose. Nope, never saw him at Melrose. But typical Thursday, Friday, and Saturday nights were Seinfeld, Leno, Reiser, Provenza, Rick Overton, Charles Fleischer, Irera. I mean, it was a
Dom
whole
Irera.
Dom
Wow.
Irera, who I
Yeah.
just opened up for a year and a half ago in
So
Delray,
good.
Florida.
So good.
That was a great experience for me. Beautiful theater that we opened up. But that's how I just want
So
the
when you-
audience to know why I know Jay Leno enough to be able to shoot the shit with him, and also go in his cars, and he always shows me what kind
So
of.
what do you see? He goes, what do you?
So he goes like this to me. He goes, what can I do for you? And I said, I'm having a hard time getting into the comedy and magic show room in Hermosa Beach. Obviously, you play it all the time, and one of the best clubs in the country.
So good. I love that
Right.
place.
And I
Great
can't-
audiences. You get a set. You get set. They feed you salmon
Right.
or whatever you want.
Right. Absolutely. And I want to get into that room. And I told Jay that I can't. And I said, I know that you do the show there every Sunday night. And is there any way you can help me? Or can I come out on a Sunday night, hang with you, and you'll introduce me to Richie and I think Michael Barrett or whoever. I can't remember the names. But that own the place, that kind of thing. And he goes, nah, he goes, you don't even need to do that. He goes, just don't even worry about it. He goes, give me your chiropractic card, and I'll call him. I'll call him on your behalf, and then I'll blah, 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 blah. So I get a phone call a day and a half later, not even 2 days later, and I'm watching the Green Bay Packers play in a playoff game, and I'm falling asleep, and I pick up, and it has no caller ID. And I said, and I'm thinking I'm being paged by an emergency patient, that kind of thing, to go do an emergency house call. And I go, hello, and I hear, hey, is this Dean? And I go, and I recognize the voice, and I said, who's this? And he goes, that's Jay Leno. And I said, hey, Jay, what's happened? I said, well, what do I owe this phone call to? And he goes, well, it sounded very much like every mafia movie. He goes, I took care of that thing. I took care of that thing for you. It just reminded me of every episode of Goodfellas or every scene in Goodfellas. I took care of that thing.
That must be your favorite movie, dude.
I love Goodfellas, yeah. My favorite movie of all time is Rocky.
Absolutely.
Is Rocky. Rocky's my favorite. But
anytime I can use an excuse to do a Rocky
you do a good Rocky. That was the very first thing I ever did on the street, in street comedy. I did, we'll get to that in a second. But so he says to me, I said, well, Jay, what do I owe this phone call to? He goes, yeah, I took care of that thing for you. I spoke to people over at Comedy and Magic, and, they're going to get in touch with you and all this stuff, blah, blah, blah. And I said, oh, thank you so much. I appreciate that. That's really sweet of you. You didn't have to call, blah, blah, blah. So one thing leads to another. How we doing on time, Dad?
Very good.
For those out
I
there.
just want to make sure the battery's not dying.
Oh, okay.
You're good.
So he ends up speaking to the powers that be at the Comedy and Magic, and then I sent them a video of something, a clip that I just took in, I guess it was December or something, and something I shot out in Westlake Village, and I never heard back from that.
Welcome to showbiz.
Right, exactly. And
do you know any other celebrity schedules?
Well, you'll be leaving this apartment. No. And that was that with that, but I really should pursue that again. But he said that they will be in touch, and and they did get in touch with me, but then I sent them the new clip, and I have not heard back now, and it's about.
Dude, there's so many people.
I know.
It's that top club in the country.
Right, absolutely, and I totally get it. I totally get it. That comes down at the end of the day. I have to go and introduce myself down there. I have to drive down there and go introduce.
It's hard
myself.
for you because you make good money and you.
But still, it has to do with passion. I don't, forget about the money. Yeah, I'm doing well.
That's what I'm saying. I think when comics are struggling, they're like, you know what?
I'll do anything.
I have to get there, and they'll do it.
Right.
So in a way,
when you become complacent,
I like to call it the golden handcuffs. You know what I mean?
Well, Eddie Murphy always said that a fallback plan. He said it to me 10:30 in the morning at a certain undisclosed coffee house. No, I'm kidding. I've never met Eddie Murphy.
No, I read this quote too, but go ahead. I read it in the
you
book
should
when I was a
never
kid.
have a fallback plan.
Yeah.
Because if you do, you will fall back.
Yeah, if you have a backup plan. Yeah.
Right. And I have to discuss this with you. The world of comedy these days is not exactly where a fallback. I mean, I know very little comics that don't have a fallback in the form of a second income.
Yeah, now you have to hustle so many ways, but
you've been very fortunate.
Fortunate with the comedy albums that are, by the way, available on iTunes and Amazon. Shady Side, That Ginger's Crazy, Stay at Home Stripper, and The Party Continues. Yes, all that good stuff. Anytime they buy it or stream it, it helps me, blah, blah, blah. You got money that you were saying.
Enough with the money. I know. Let me ask you a question. While I went to the bathroom, did you look at my IRA or something?
No.
You got money. I'm going to get robbed here after this show, man. Come on. I'm living in a one-bedroom, man.
This is your side apartment. You have a
right. This is where we decided. Well, we have the studio for podcasting.
Yeah, this is where I meet the people from the valley, like Darren, and chicks I want to bang.
Right.
No, but the reason I was bringing up that was a horrible transition. But I go, you've got money, because I was getting ready to talk about your that.
Oh, hair plugs.
Yes, because you go.
Thanks for bringing that up. No, yeah, I've signed every confidentiality.
As I sit here all bald and poor.
No, I want. I want to do.
You know what? Can I just tell you something? But see, I am okay. I'm coming from a guy who grew up with red hair, so to me, shaving the hair off was the best deal ever.
Right.
I mean, all of a sudden, I went from bozo to like. Now when I shave my head, I swear to you, man, I've gotten Bruce Willis. I can't even count any times.
You look great. It works for you. You have the kind of head. Excuse me.
Yes.
You have the kind
Bruce
of
Willis.
Yeah.
And last night I did an outdoor comedy show. They were a little drunk. It was the Workaholics. Oh, it was awesome. You should go. But like this girl was a little tipsy. She said I came because I've been working out too. And
Yeah, you look
I'm
good,
gonna
man.
blame the work. I'm gonna say it's the shaved head, the working out, and it was also she was drunk, and it was a little dark because when I came out of the bathroom by the pool, they have a swimming pool there, and she told me that I looked like Vin Diesel.
Yeah, you do look a little bit like Vin Diesel.
Yeah, but it was fun the way she said because she was a little tipsy. She goes, she got the V and the D mix. She goes, "You look like Vin Diesel."
Yeah.
I go, I didn't understand. I go, who? And she goes, is his name Vin Diesel? Vin Diesel? And I go, oh, Vin Diesel. She goes, yes. And then on stage, I told the story, but then I added the punchline. I go, you look like, or maybe she said like a den weasel. Like a weasel, a den weasel. But
There you go.
anywho, but yeah.
That must have killed.
Dude, it killed. Yeah.
So, talking about
So shaved head, are you not going to shave it? You're going to go
nah,
for the hair
because
plugs?
I have enough hair.
Yeah.
Like, did you have a lot of hair left before you decided to buzz it?
I thought I did.
Oh, you did?
No one else did, though.
Oh, okay.
No, I don't know. It depends on who you asked. My white buddies thought I had hair. My black friend said you need to shave that shit.
Oh,
Let it go.
really?
Let it go. You're trying to hang on. No one wants a horseshoe.
I figured,
Looking like a
something.
cul-de-sac, yeah.
I figured with this in this day and age, with the technology
Yes.
that they have now,
It's better now, right?
it's not the thing from 30 years ago
Yeah.
where you look like a GI Joe doll.
This guy last
Okay.
night, I don't know if he's full of shit or what, but his opinion, he's this guy from another country. I don't know. I don't know where he's from, but I think Iran or something. He's Persian, I think. But he said that he got hair transplants in third world countries. He says it's better there because they do it so often. It's because it's so cheap.
Interesting.
He said in America it's expensive, so they have less practice. But who
Okay.
knows?
Okay.
I
well,
didn't think his hair transplants look good though.
I want to do
No
it.
offense
I
if you're
haven't done it.
listening.
I
God,
met
I
with
got
the,
too specific.
I met with the doctor. I met
Yeah.
with the doctor
Could have been
who's
Asian. Who
pretty,
knows?
pretty heavy hitter. The
Yeah.
guy, this guy named Dr. Ziering, and he said I can give you a full head of hair, do the crown and the front, and it's $15,000, which
You
I
got money.
Enough with the not anymore. Not
Yeah.
after I hand over $15K.
Jeez,
But-
these lampshades will really go away. He's basically got one lampshade.
I got
though.
one
He's got a
lampshade.
bunch of
My
lamps.
goal,
with
is to
bare bright
have my
bulbs.
apartment look like the original set of Rocky 1. Where
Yeah.
Mickey comes in and he goes, "This is a nice place you got here. You sort of remind me of the Rock. The way you move, the way you. I remind you of the Rock, but I ain't got no lock or do I, Mick? But I ain't got no lock or do I, Mick?
That's funny.
But yeah, I'm gonna do
Yeah.
it. I'm gonna do the plugs.
So it's 15 grand.
15,000.
And where do you do it? The front, the back?
They take the
'Cause
hair.
you have hair from certain, no offense, but certain angles it looks like you have hair. Other
Well,
angles
I do have hair.
but other angles you look,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. But I definitely have 77% of my hair.
wow.
I mean, look at me.
Right.
I mean, you're smirking.
Well, when someone says, "Look at me," I'm bald. I'm gonna want you to go bald like me. So that's the
No,
thing. I
you
know.
don't want that.
No, but that's the thing. Bald guys want other people to be bald, so they don't.
Oh,
So we don't
seriously?
look so weird. Yeah.
All right. But all right. I didn't realize.
No, I'm kidding. I was joking about the weird thing. If
Okay.
you're bald and listening, I'm joking.
But no,
It's self-deprecating.
so I'm willing to. I'm definitely contemplating it, and I it's an 8-hour procedure.
Oh my gosh,
It's 8
it's gonna
hours,
hurt.
and they pull the hair from the back
Oh my god.
nape of your neck.
Is
and
it
then
worth
they,
it? I see. I shave my head. I think I'd rather just be shaved.
Part of me.
But then you have dark hair. You never know what you could look like with Rick. You could look like Rick Springfield or something because you're tall, lean. You kind of have that
You mean with a full head?
of hair.
That's what I'm saying. That's
Yeah.
why I think that it would
It does make people look younger, and you work out all the time.
right. And I think I have a decent face for 54. I don't have a marked up face,
Yeah.
and I don't have like
That's because of late night hours, hardly any direct sunlight.
right. Well, I sleep in a coffin. So, when you
What do you do to protect yourself from all that bright sun? Do you just hold up a bunch of money?
No,
a bunch of $50 bills. You make a big fan of it. I used to be an MC for the strippers.
No. Seriously, if I get robbed tomorrow, I definitely know.
No. I'm joking, guys.
No, no. Have I been doing well these days? Yeah, I've been very lucky with the chiropractic practice.
Yeah.
You know what helped my entire life was Yelp. Yelp changed my
Tell
life.
us how'd that happen. You were a struggling comic.
I was
struggling. Do chiropractors struggle?
I was struggling, absolutely, and I was in an office on Riverside and Coldwater, where Jay Leno goes to Whole Foods, and so I was on I was in an office there for 13 years, sharing an office with a lady friend of mine, and we got too big for each other in that office, and it was only 2 rooms to treat. So we were knocking, on the door, hey, when are you going to be out soon? That kind of stuff. It got to that point. So I started looking around.
That's got to make the patients feel good.
Yeah, right. Hey, you're coming out? Hey, by any chance, he's coming out soon?
Yeah.
So,
so what happened? You were struggling with the
struggling,
comedy,
struggling
with
yeah, absolutely,
struggling with the chiropractor, struggling with
absolutely
everything with struggle, and it's not a good place to live.
And the next thing
so somebody talked you into Yelp?
No, I walk across the street to the yoga studio here, right across the street from where I live, 500 feet. And
I thought you were going to give an address. I'm like, don't do that. 500 South Laurel Canyon or whatever.
Well, I hope some people from this from the web series, from the podcast, would potentially be interested in coming in.
Oh yeah, if they want to,
if they need,
I'll plug you if you want to.
Yeah, of course.
If people want to see a chiropractor,
I practice in the Thai restaurant.
That's
my practice. My practice.
Tell me about the Darren Carter Friend special. Oh, my neck. Where can they find you for the chiropractor?
Okay, so if you want to look up, if you're having any kind of problems, look me up, Dr. Dean Larit, Larit. I'm on Yelp.
Can we give my listeners the
Of course, I'll give them
party
special. If they mention you, they pay $25 more. So if they mention you, I'll take $25 off the first visit.
Perfect.
Okay,
that's great.
I think that's very fair.
Yeah.
Dean Larit, and it says I'm in Yelp. You can't miss me. Larit.
Dean's great. If people are in pain, they've called you at all hours. And
I go into the office.
And I've seen reviews. And I've seen.
I actually have. I don't want to brag. Yeah. I really don't want to brag.
Oh, right. Like I walked in like a question mark, and I walked out a lot better.
But I actually have the most chiropractic reviews, 5-star reviews out of any chiropractor in Los Angeles.
Wow.
Yeah. And I'm not BSing.
How did that happen?
I walked across the street because my old partner was like, look, I've been here for 30 years already, and we're starting to run into each other in the hallway, literally. That's how busy we got. But she was mostly busy. I was struggling. And so one thing led to another, and she said, can you start looking for a place? There's no hurry. Mm-hmm. She was very cool.
Yeah.
And she said, can you start looking? And I did, and I just on a fluke, I saw this yoga studio across the street, Yoga NoHo. Yoga NoHo is the name of the place. Mm-hmm. And right on Vineland Avenue in North Hollywood. And so I walked in, and I saw that they had a sign that said chiropractic, yoga, prenatal care, acupuncture, hypnotherapy, blah, blah, blah. And I said, how's your chiropractor doing? And she said, well, he's not really doing that great, which I thought was really interesting for her to say. She didn't know who I was. And she's already telling me that I could be a guy that's looking for a chiropractor. And she goes, well, he's really not that great. Yeah. So one thing led to another. And I said, do you have any loyalty to this guy? And she goes, not really, because he told us one thing and he hasn't delivered. And blah, 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 blah. I said, well, if you don't have any loyalty, I'd like to bring 15 years of experience over to you. And I came in, actually, August 5th will be 4 years that I'm at this place. And I love it. It's been the best. But what changed my life is Yelp called me one day and said, hey, we see that you moved places. Do you want to start doing Yelp? And I said, well, you guys remind me a lot of the mafia that I grew up with in Queens. And she started laughing. She goes, what do you mean? I said, well, I grew up with, I know you guys, you want me to give you money. And when
you guys are like Goodfellas. You go to Goodfellas. You love that movie.
I love that movie. And but I only have one lampshade. And so I told the girl on Yelp, I was like, hey, you're like the mob that I grew up with. Hey, if you give us $200 a week, we'll make sure your windows don't get broken. And she goes, well, why do you say that? And I said, because in order for me to, get correct listings in Yelp, I have to pay you every month. So she goes, how about this? How about try this number out for 6 months, no contract? And it changed my life. Literally, it took 2.5 months, and then all of a sudden it filtered into literally a life-changing thing.
Wow. Did you have to pay a certain amount?
I do. I pay every month. Every month.
A business owner would have to pay every month?
Every month, but I'm grandfathered in a certain price. So I have friends.
Yeah.
I have friends that are paying $600, $700, $800 a month to Yelp, and they claim that they're getting 10 times the amount of money, on their payoff, but I don't have to pay that much. But I'm still doing it, and just out of superstition now, because my theory is I'll stop paying, and then all of a sudden I won't be getting the calls that I'm getting. So it's been an interesting ride. The last 4 years have been very successful. But the thing is that the complacency is never there in my head. I still love doing stand up. I was just at the Ice House 3 weeks ago. I still love doing stand up. I opened up for Dom in Delray, Florida, Dom Irrera. So I'm still trying to stay in the business. I'm constantly pestering you to try and
which is cool. I like hanging out with you, but it's hard when because I'll be like, come meet me here, and you're like, I just got back from Whole Foods, I'm gonna so it's like if you were broke, then you'd be like, yeah, I'll be there.
Oh no. But there's a lot of times you're right, you're absolutely right about that. But there are times when I will definitely say, hey man, if you're gonna go to Ha-Ha, or if you're gonna go to Flappers, or this or that,
if you're gonna go 2 miles within my apartment,
right. Right. But yeah, I still have the passion for it. I'm still writing new jokes every day. I'm still trying to stay on top of it. But I don't think I'm any different than any.
I like to help my listeners with inspiration and motivation. You being a fitness guy and a doctor, is there some healthy words of wisdom you could give us, either to be a happy person or to
post no bills?
Okay.
No. I've always been fascinated whenever I see that underneath a tunnel or in a trestle. I was always fascinated by post no bills. Like, how many people are walking, in their car and going, hey Marilyn, do we have any of those bills that we're supposed to post? That I never really got that whole thing. Post no bills. No advice. Advice for what angle? For business or
no, just a way to live a healthier life, a happier life. Also, I'll bring up one.
Go ahead.
Water. You brought water up. It's like, I like to start the day out. The first thing I do, I stretch a little bit, just very little. I'm not gonna say I stretch for a half hour. I literally maybe a couple minutes, and
that's
then,
all you need.
And I walk over to I grab a giant glass of water and I drink water. That's one of the first.
That's so
I
important.
love to start the day out with a glass of water.
Important.
And then look at me, I carry water.
And you're drinking water right now. Both of us are drinking water.
Yeah.
But you want to even make it even better on a cellular level. Put half a lemon in that water in the morning, because when you don't have anything in your system, in other words, you haven't eaten, you just woke up, maybe you went to the bathroom to pee or something like that, whatever. But when you have lemon in your water, you are going to make your gallbladder and your liver. It's a great way to detox the liver, especially if you don't have any food in your system. Some people say to add a teaspoon of olive oil with that, lemon and olive oil.
I had olive oil on my salad dressing. That's why instead of salad dressing, I just went to Whole Foods and I just put some olive oil on there.
Yeah, olive oil is healthy. I mean, to a certain
new Whole Foods. It just opened up in Burbank.
How did you go?
I went.
How is it?
It was huge. It was amazing. I didn't even walk. I went straight. I walked in because you go to the underground parking garage.
Right.
Lots of parking. It was really. I felt like I was in a different city. I mean, it didn't even feel like Burbank.
Are they open till 11 or is it 10?
I don't know the hours, but I do know the hours of the Thai room. And if you're in Burbank, no, but I
11:30 till 9.
And you take the escalator up, and then I felt like I was in Seattle or something, or just a different city. And I asked the security guard. Everyone's smiling, everyone's happy. I felt like everybody there is either. It's like maybe because it's so new, they're all super happy, and it's just like they're like, yeah. I go. I want to get something to eat, and I want to pay for it and not stand on a long line. What do I need to do? And she goes, oh, sir, there's a bar over there. They have a bar inside the Whole Foods.
Yes, they have a bar.
And then she said there's like the pizzas, the salad bar, the taco bar, everything is over there. And then she goes, you can go to the express lane. And so I did it. And I'd never really been to like I've been to Whole Foods, but like I picked up a salad. It was only like $8. And I got 4 slices of pizza for the family. And it was like, 2 slices for $6, and
that's cool.
If I waited 15 more minutes, I could have got like a lot more choices of pizza.
Is it like the size of an airplane hangar? I mean, is it that kind of thing?
Yeah, it's pretty big.
Yeah,
it's pretty nice. And then you take like some crazy like sidewalk that's like a ramp, like that moves like in an airport, and it takes you back to your car.
Getting back to words of wisdom or something. I would say, I mean,
Water, stretching.
Yeah,
Give us something we don't know. Give us something that's like where you've like, this is a good thing to do. Okay, I know. I got one.
Go ahead.
For the ab workout, you were telling me to I did that at the gym the other day.
What'd you think of that?
Yeah,
I showed.
Describe how.
For those of you who don't know, I showed Darren a really great ab exercise. I don't do much ab work, but I have pretty. You'd agree? I have a pretty good 6-pack going for.
Yeah. Now tell us how you do it. How do you?
Well, that's what I'm going to say.
Yeah.
But I told you I don't really do abs.
Right.
And you had said, what is it you do? And the one thing I do is high intensity interval training. That I do all the time. That anybody can Google and read how to do that. But the thing I showed you.
Give us 30 seconds of what to do for the people that aren't going to
Oh,
Google
h.i.i.t?
Yeah.
Okay, so what you would do is you would go on a treadmill, or you can go on the street and do this, or a track and do this. But you would take a nice walk for about 4 minutes, regular walk, casual walk.
Okay.
And you want to do that at the track, do it. Go
kind of warm up with a nice 4-minute walk.
get the blood going, man.
Yeah.
Move the blood down to the calves and everything, to the calves. So you do that, and then we do what I've been doing is I do a run. I do a 1.25 mile run, but at around the 5-minute mark of that run.
Yeah.
Remember, not the walk. The walk
Yeah.
is done.
Yeah.
I start to pick up the pace and and go from like 6.0 miles per hour. I boost it up to like 10. And
Really? You go from like 50% to like 75%?
pretty much. And then what happens is I do a 30-second sprint all out.
So you go
Okay?
50%, 75%, and then you go all out as fast as you can.
All as you can
After
go.
you've already gone 75%
Yeah.
faster. Wow.
And then you do 30 seconds at 9.5 or whatever the
slow
number.
it down.
Yeah. No. It's just I'm giving you a fictitious, an arbitrary number based upon your skill level. So because you're going to get your heart rate. My heart rate goes up to 140 when I do this.
A lot of numbers being thrown. So let me
Okay.
say,
Okay.
Let me say,
Okay. So let's pretend we're on. Let's pretend we're on a treadmill.
Yeah.
Let's pretend we're on a treadmill.
Okay.
So when I do the 5-minute walk to start, I usually have it on like 3.7, 3.8 miles per hour.
Okay.
Okay? That's the speed. Then when we start the actual run of that 1.25 miles, the beginning, the first 5 minutes, I started at like 5.8 and then miles per hour. And then every minute after that, 5.9, 6.0, 6.2, 6.4. Every minute.
Try this at home, folks. If
Yeah.
you're on a treadmill listening to the podcast, try it.
Right. So we got 6.2, 6.4. And then once I get to like 5, 6, 7 minutes, and I'm really getting into that steady state oxygen transference across the cells.
Yeah.
I go into this h.i.i.t training where I just all of a sudden go from 6.5 to like 9.2 miles per hour.
Is that scary on a treadmill?
It's fast. You get it.
I like running real fast in real life.
starting to
Treadmill,
get-
I feel like I could slip.
that
and
you're
then-
going to slip and fall backwards. Yeah. No, this is great. And then I get it up to like 10, 11, blah, blah, blah. I have this treadmill downstairs here at the, luxury building that I live in. Don't say where.
Yeah.
We have the treadmill there goes up to like 15 miles an hour. So, which is like, if you're Kenyan or going to win a marathon.
Yeah.
So,
If you're Usain Bolt.
right, exactly. So I do that, and now they're 30-second intervals. And people always joke, my friends and patients always go, Dean, 30 seconds of running? And I go, you have no idea how difficult 30 seconds, full blast.
Yeah.
Full blast is.
So 30 seconds. Let's just say we go to a
Yeah,
track. I do 30-second sprint, and then what do I do?
Fast as you can go.
And then what? Then walk?
And then you're going to walk for about
30 seconds.
75 seconds.
Oh.
Okay, cool down, because you're going to need it. You're actually
Yeah.
going to find your hands start to rest on your thighs and knees.
Yeah.
You're going to bend over after you do it because people think it's nothing. People go, 30 seconds.
Any idea how long it takes you to run one time around a track?
Yeah. I usually do when I want to really do something. I can do
You
it.
time it?
The best I've ever run a 1/4 mile was 1 minute and 17 seconds. 1 minute 17 seconds
That's
was the
really
best.
fast,
That was
yeah.
pretty good. That was
Yeah.
pretty good. But
That's
now,
cool.
yeah, that was pretty good back then. But now I could probably do a 1:49.
Really?
Yeah, I can still do a 1:49. Yeah. I can come in.
I'm faster than that.
What do you do?
I think I'm 140.
For the quarter mile?
Yeah, I think I was 135.
Really?
I think so. I should time it.
Are you a fast guy?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I'm not a sprinter. I mean, my son thinks but he's 10, so.
All right, then we have to do that one day.
Hi, Austin.
All right, then we have to do that one day.
If you're listening, Austin. I don't know if this is the one that I went into it going, I don't know if this might be a.
And meanwhile, I've never told that story.
Yeah.
About the dating.
Oh, I know. Well, we'll save it for next time.
Okay.
I want to do a whole podcast about online dating because you and another guy, I know so many comics have these crazy stories. You meet these girls on Tinder and Bumble. Did you meet her on Tinder or Bumble?
I met this girl on Tinder, and I went up to Santa Clarita to have the date with her. And I might as well just take the monkey, out of the bag.
We
right
get
now.
the idea.
Whatever the
High
cat
intensity.
High intensity interval training, blah blah blah. You'll see unbelievable changes in your body.
If you've made it this far, guys,
right.
You get to hear his version of his penthouse letter.
So I went on this date, and the woman and the lady leans over to me, and she says,
"You guys are sitting at a restaurant, like Applebee's
we're sitting at a Chili's."
Yeah.
Okay.
First time you meet this girl,
Santa Clarita,
Gosh.
and I wanted to go to the Cheesecake Factory, and she was like, "Yeah, it's too far from me." Blah blah blah. But we went to Chili's, and I really deserve free meals at all these places I've mentioned today.
So what happened?
And out of nowhere, she just literally says to me...
It was in the first 2 minutes of meeting her,
First
right?
2 minutes.
Yeah.
She says to me, I just want to let you know up front that I don't do anal. And I said, and I just, I just out of nowhere. And my immediate response was, well, that just kills 33% of my fantasy.
Oh, God. Yeah.
So I'll let you people out there figure out where that percentage came up. But
he's a numbers guy. So what happened?
It's a numbers game.
Yeah. So what did you?
It's a numbers
game. 2 out
game.
of 3 ain't bad.
Right.
So you're like, okay, you just kind of laugh at it.
This was the first thing she like, and then she goes, "Well, maybe I."
Were you attracted to her at all, or no?
She was okay. She, as usual, did not resemble the photos the way it should have. But that's okay. I still was attracted enough to sit there and to engage and blah blah blah.
But you weren't
So then I, of course, medically, so I said to her, I said, well, let me ask you a question. I did really say that to her. I said, well, that kills 33% of my fantasy. And she laughed. And I said, why did you come out with that? And she goes, well, the last guy that I was in a relationship was like really forcing anal sex on me. And I was like, well, I that's not my bag. I don't really, no pun intended. That's not my thing. And I don't ever want to, do something or be involved in a sexual thing with a date or a girlfriend or a wife or something. If you don't want to do something. So it was I was like, well, I'm not that guy, so you don't have to worry about that. But I did defend the anal sex community. And how I did so is I told her, she says, you're a doctor, so you know the anatomy down there and the neurological stuff. And I said, yeah, and you want to know something? There are some serious nerve endings in that area and pleasure receptors, believe it or not. And I said, I'm going to tell you, and for all you people in the anal community.
Not one listener. Listen, no, I'm just kidding. None of my listeners.
Right now,
are
Rems and Lee Magenfire sitting there going.
They're like, do tell.
Exactly. Rems is like, I like this guy. No, for you guys.
How many episodes in? Finally, this guy speaks to us.
Exactly.
Hold the mic away a little bit. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Hey, talk about a pocket party.
Right. So I start telling her.
Don't get too graphic here.
No. I'm definitely not going to do that.
Yeah. And you saw like Chili's, and you guys are.
Yeah, we're sitting at Chili's, and it was a Monday night date, and I'm sitting there, and I'm literally explaining to her the dynamics of why anal sex is not as crazy as you think from a neurological anatomical standpoint. Okay, not really my thing, but. Have I done it in my life? Absolutely. Absolutely.
Hey, I want to thank our guests for coming by the podcast.
it's literally 5 times I think in my whole life, you know.
Jeez.
And
I told you he's a numbers guy.
and
5 times.
I'm a numbers guy, you know. But it was
Talk about high intensity interval
high
training.
anal sex. But that's man, am I gonna get killed for this? But that's what happened. I explained to her the dynamics, and I told her, I said, every guy does it wrong, and that's when I saw all of a sudden her interest got piqued. She was like, what do you mean every guy does it wrong? I said, yeah, every guy does it wrong. They don't use coconut oil, and they don't know how to relax the body and relax the person, and blah blah blah. And at the very end, she goes, "Well, I'm still not, going to do it." And I was, and I'm thinking, it was just a very strange, date.
Did you guys go on a second date?
No, we never had a second date. She went skydiving 3 days later.
Oh my gosh!
And no, she's fine. Everything.
She's like, what happened?
No, she's fine. But no, she.
I wondered, did she skydive solo, or did she do that thing?
She did tandem.
She did tandem. I wonder if she
Santa
told
Boat.
him that while you're back there.
While you're back there, do you have any coconut oil? So, because I heard that most people don't know how to do it correctly, but no, that was it. That was one of the oddest things. I've never had anybody.
Are you married, or have you been married?
Yeah, she's in the other room. My wife is.
There's no way
counting the money. She's sitting on the bed counting. You know that bed full of $100 bills on it.
That's the thing. You know what? That's another thing is you probably if you were married, you probably would be like, you know what? I'm just gonna go with the low haircut.
I am so.
Yeah, you know what I mean.
I am so over the dating scene in Los Angeles. It is absolutely ridiculous. Like the one thing I've always noticed about L.A. L.A. is a very strange place to have friends. Forget about dating. Like here's an interesting thing with L.A. Like, you and I could be really good friends. We could even go to the movies on a Friday night and go see a movie and shoot the breeze and all this stuff. And I could call you Saturday or Sunday, literally 24 to 48 hours later, and say, "Hey, man, what are you doing right now?"
Yeah.
And you go, "Oh, I didn't tell you. I moved to St. Louis, Missouri today. We're in the U-Haul right now." It is the most strangest town.
Yeah.
Nobody, the friends are. It's a very weird thing. Dating is 10 times tougher than that. You could have a rapport going on Tinder and Bumble, and then all of a sudden they are. Hey, give me a call. Let's get together Saturday. Yeah, I'd really like that. I'm looking forward to that. You never hear from that person again. It's I don't know if it's the bigger, better deal comes along or whatever, but it's very frustrating to be 54 and dating out here. It really is. It's very, very
tough. Let me ask you a question. Is it hard because you, because with my friends, a lot of my friends.
Because of all the money?
No. They say that. Well, they say it's hard to date, but then they're also trying to date a lot younger women.
No,
but maybe you don't want to date a woman.
I like dating women that are like 40 in their 40s.
That sounds like it'd be reasonable, right? Like,
yeah, absolutely.
Or like a real woman who's like
absolutely
got a head on her shoulders.
Been through her stuff.
You don't want to go with
I have no
physically
interest.
You might see an attractive woman in her 20s, of course, but
of course, looking at a 20-some-odd-year-old girl is I mean, you're talking about perfection body.
But then you're going to bring up, hey,
where were you when Kennedy was shot? Well, you mean
Jamie Kennedy?
What happened to Jamie Kennedy? Jamie Kennedy? Somebody shot Jamie Kennedy?
Yeah.
That kind of thing. It literally, there's nothing to it other than a physical relationship. That's all it is.
It's so funny how times are changing. I did a show a couple of days ago, and this guy in the audience was loving my comedy. We were talking afterwards at the merchandise table. It's true, and he came by. Yeah, and we were talking, and he was like a chubby guy that was like, I thought he was probably like, maybe like 30. Turns out he was 24. And here's when it comes to technology. Number one, he had an English accent. I go, I didn't know you were from England. And he's like, yes. And then it came out that he'd been on YouTube ever since he was 11 years old.
Okay.
He's like, yeah, there's videos. You could see me when I was 11. And I'm like, wow, really? Because to me, it looked like just a normal grown-up. Like, it's crazy. Like, there's no...
What aspect? What was he doing?
Stage actor.
Oh, okay.
Like there's no videos of you when you were 11 on YouTube.
No.
No.
No,
Is there videos of you at 11? Because it's harder, you know what I mean? Or when you
Yeah,
get
that
older,
would make it 1975. I mean, there are videos that my mother and father have, obviously, of birthday parties and all that stuff in the backyard in Queens. But no. The earliest stuff that I have on YouTube is probably about.
forget YouTube, but I mean just pictures and videos.
Oh
and,
yeah, of course I have stuff like
I mean,
that.
I think YouTube didn't come out until 2005.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, I believe so.
Well, yeah, YouTube is.
I love YouTube.
That's the best.
I post up stuff.
I just love that you can ask any question whatsoever, to YouTube, and there will be somebody
Right.
who has,
Absolutely.
how can I clean
Right.
the inside of a laundry. A laundromat. I mean, it doesn't matter what. There'll be a guy.
I'm always asking questions. I'll be like, I remember my Fitbit. When I went from California to Florida to do some shows, it wasn't changing time. It wasn't calculating the time, and I'm like, what time? I don't know how to change the settings. I go on there, and there's like some 11-year-old that's like, you go here, you go to settings, you go scroll all the way down to and he's breaking it down.
That's how I learned how to do the Rubik's Cube. Was
oh, really?
From doing it. It was still even hard to follow, but because there's a lot of algorithms.
Yeah.
But sure enough, there's.
I want to get you back on this podcast. We've gone a long time.
How long have we done?
If you take a wild guess.
Hour and 17.
Right now it says 1 hour 28 minutes.
Holy.
Yeah, and I'm going to do an intro, so it's going to be even longer. People that listen to this, I would imagine that we thank you for listening. If you've gotten this far, I would imagine that
Now,
you've broken this up over a couple
days.
This? Yeah, I'm just going to do the part about the banana hanger. No, yeah, where the no, I won't edit it. There's no point in it. I love just to put it out. I don't like over polished edit. Why?
Okay.
I did this interview in Minneapolis once, and we did an hour, and it was great. And then she told me she edited it down to fucking 3 minutes.
Are you serious?
And I'm like, are you kidding me? What's the point?
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so the anal community stuff will stay.
Yeah, jeez, like he's trying to get more dates. No, but hey, you know what I'm doing? Coconut. No. Hey, let me ask you a question. Answer this question as Jay Leno. What's the secret to comedy?
It's I mean, you gotta do it. You gotta do it every night of the week.
What's the secret to having a good set, Jay?
The secret to a good set is, just stay in the moment with the audience. Stay with them.
Is that Jerry Seinfeld? Jerry, what's this? Jerry, do you have any tips for our listeners, Mr. Seinfeld?
What is the deal? I'm not in the mood to do impressions now, man. I just realized I'm going, what am I getting into right now?
Wait, okay,
what's the deal with that?
This is a better bit. Okay. Real quick, Jay Leno, what's your advice for any new comedian?
Yeah, I mean, go back to Jay Leno.
Yeah, because it's a setup. Jay Leno, what's your advice to a new comedian?
You gotta, you gotta, stay out there every night.
I can't even get it right now. I can't get Leno.
Mike
right.
Tyson, what's your advice to a new boxer?
Just, the theory with boxing is that everybody has a plan until they get hit.
Because I love Mike Tyson and Jay Leno almost sound alike.
Well, because I'm probably doing it bad. Leno is more like, I'm
on a Johnny Carson.
No, I'm.
And what does Mike Tyson
having
like?
a bad Leno night, and I'm not doing it as well as I usually do.
No, it's great.
No, it sucks actually. I usually can do a decent Leno. Tyson.
No, you sounded like Leno earlier in the podcast.
In the beginning, yeah,
It's
in the
great.
beginning, yeah. But Tyson is, Mike. They always make is like a high pitch guy. He really is. Mike is more.
Yeah, he is.
It's a little bit more of a docile. It's a little bit more docile. It's a little bit more. It's a slower tone. It's a little bit more. I threw some punches. He threw some punches, and every fighter has a plan until they get hit.
I throw my punches in bunches.
Mike was really. It wasn't really that high, as high as everybody makes him out to be.
But Mike was one of the nicest guys that I've met over the years.
Dude, you don't need coffee, huh? You can just. This is great. You got the energy of this. He's coming alive.
I'm first coming alive, but I can't. Now I'm pissed off about not doing the Leno up to par.
Oh my god. By the way, when are we? Tell them what time that we were recording this.
We started at about 10 after 12.
It's almost
midnight.
2 a.m. and you're just.
Is it almost 2? Cool.
Yeah, you're gonna keep going, huh? Like I'm gonna go home and wrap it up and go to sleep. You're just starting.
I'm gonna be doing Leno. You know what this reminds me of? When you leave, I'm going to treat this as every audition that I've gone on, where when you get into the car, you start doing the audition all over again. You start, well, your mother was wrong. Well, your mother was wrong. No, well, your mother was wrong, and you start doing all the things you didn't do in the room.
Yep.
Okay, so
I'm gonna go back over. Let's just do it now then. As we wrap
I'm gonna
up.
walk around
on
the house.
podcast.
I shouldn't really did it this way because maybe I
like the male stripper story. Is there anything you forgot that you're like, oh, I could have done that part about the male stripper story?
Male stripper story.
Did you ever hook up with girls? Yes, you did.
Oh yeah, one of the best things about there was a club in Sayreville, New Jersey. Yeah, we hooked up all the time.
Finally, the podcast gets good.
We hooked up all the time as male.
Now we're 34 into.
No,
tell us.
There was a club in Sayreville, New Jersey, and there was it was in the fields. What do they call it? Like the swamps, the flatlands of Jersey. That's what they referred to that as. And in the parking lot that holds about 250 cars, patrons to go into the club, there was a train caboose from 1910, 1920. Just an abandoned train caboose sitting there. And that's where what would go on at the end of stripping.
Speaking of caboose, let me get my coconut oil.
Right, exactly. Right.
Oh wow! So
there were plenty of good nights, but hey, look, life's been good, man. I mean, I'll say it like Tyson. Life's been good, man. I've had my ups and downs. I've had things that have gone certain ways.
That's a great. I love your Leno. That's great.
That's not my Leno.
Oh, sorry. There's the other one.
I'll do my David Brenner. David Brenner story. David Brenner was, he was.
That's a good Brenner. By the way,
so I'm on the Johnny show. I'm on the Carson show, and but
that's what I hate about impressions because you can kill, and then once that person's fame starts to like wane, then it's like
right. Nobody gives a shit.
Yeah.
Right,
I remember one time they ambushed me on a morning radio like an idiot.
There's a comedian out now that does impressions, and he and him and I know him, and all his impressions are like Scarface. It's like say hello to my little friend, and Rocky, and but here's the thing: he can only do.
Wait a second, you're talking about all the things we talked about.
No,
dude, I'm right here. You're like roasting me right in my own.
No. I swear,
Scarface,
not you.
Rocky,
You don't really do impressions in your act. This is the guy's whole act. Yeah. No, you don't, right?
No.
So. But this guy literally
is Snoop Dogg.
This guy,
I use Snoop Dogg.
That's true, but you do one of the best Snoop Doggs I've ever heard.
Thank you.
And you morph into Snoop Dogg when you do it. Your eyes are the same. You actually begin to look like him when you do Snoop Dogg. I don't know if how many people.
It's true. You're right. I've had to. No,
seriously, you really look like the guy. But I will say one thing, and then we'll sort of begin to wrap this up. We're we halfway done?
Yeah. We're just getting started. Now, you've memorized this, right? We're going to start over from the beginning and do the lines word for word.
No.
So tell me.
So I'm on the Tonight Show with Johnny, and no, that was Dave Brenner. I guarantee you, people don't even know who David Brenner is. Okay. So
I know exactly who David Banner is. He turned into the Incredible Hulk.
So this comedian out there, who shall remain nameless, does impressions, but here's the kicker. He can only do like 2 words of each impression.
Oh, wow.
So he'll do like Stallone, but all he can do is, yo, Adrian. That's all he can do. He can't do a full thing like, I've been coming here for 6 years, and for 6 years you've been sticking it to me. I want to know. You don't want to know. I want to know how. He can't do full dialogue. So he'll do, say hello to my little friend. Everything is one thing, and then if you ask him to do Leno, because he does Leno, and he does a few things. I don't want to give his signature thing away because then people will know it's him. So I don't want to do that because I don't want to badmouth the guy. But it's hilarious because, like you said, the impressions are 35 years old. But unfortunately, we don't really have role models or actors or actresses to impersonate these days.
I know. Oh, I'm going to do that one girl on The Real Housewives
Yeah.
of OC or whatever.
Right,
It's like,
exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So that's it, man. Other than that,
where can we find you? Dean Larit. He's on social media.
on this couch. No,
You can find him out there, Dean Larit. If you
yeah,
need
I'm-
some chiropractic work and you happen to make it an LA destination for you tourists. When you're in LA,
Yeah. Come
get a
by.
really cheap flight that way your back is very uncomfortable, and you go straight to Yelp. You find him, and he'll work on you. You get the Darren Carter Pocket Party special.
right, $25 off.
That's right.
And so it goes from $350 for the first visit to $325.
Yeah.
No, it's Dean Larit, Larit, and you can check my reviews out in Yelp.
Yep.
And then next time we got to talk about Springsteen. We got to talk about hanging out with Springsteen.
Bruce Springsteen.
Bruce
Yes,
Springsteen.
it's a cliffhanger.
Yeah, hanging out with Springsteen
That's
3
awesome.
times in my life for a total of 6 hours. And that, I have to say, that is the coolest guy I think I've ever met in my life.
Cooler
I've
than-
met just about
Yeah.
everybody out here. And I haven't met Cruz and Brad Pitt, but I've met pretty close to
I could totally introduce you to Ted Cruz.
Ted Cruz.
I'm just kidding.
Ted Cruz and
But Bruce Springsteen, he's everything that we want. Isn't that
I've
great? They say
never
ne-
met
They say
anybody
never
cooler.
meet your heroes, but you met your hero, and he was amazing.
I met
That's
my
awesome.
hero 3 times, and all 3 times
That's so cool.
just like a guy just like hanging out with a guy who makes pizzas in Manhattan.
That's awesome.
Just like a bartender. No big thing.
I want to do it. We'll do that. We'll do a Bruce special on this because I want to.
Because remember, I'm
Yeah.
the one who turned you on to him.
Yes,
You
I knew
know.
some songs, of course. Like who
Right.
doesn't?
Well,
but you were like,
everybody.
try this, but yeah, we'll go song by song, album by album.
Yeah.
If you're a Bruce fan, you're gonna love it. If not, you'll listen to a different
Right.
episode. But we're gonna love it.
And I hope I did okay here. You know, I know I crossed over into the anal stuff, but I mean,
I've never had a guest out their own appearance.
and by
It's
the
hilarious.
way, I was
Yes.
waiting. I'm waiting
Yes.
for somebody to comment when I said I've done it 5 times in my whole life. I'm
Yes.
waiting for somebody to go, yeah, I wonder who pitched and who
Was it
caught.
with those fucking male dancers?
I'm of course, you
Is
know
that how
when
I
a-
got the gig.
I'm sure that's going to come back.
God, he's like,
I'm
you can
sure
tell
that's-
he's a comic. He's like already like,
I'm
analyzing
waiting
it.
for the comments. But all right, guys,
Dude, you have the honor of being. This is the longest episode I've ever done.
Are you serious?
Absolutely.
Oh, cool,
Yeah,
man.
that's good.
Cool. I hope I did okay and that we didn't,
No, it's just great.
it was good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
I wish you were honestly. I wish you were on social media more so you could like help me, spread the word. But
I want to
you'll-
get
you'll share
into
with
it.
your friends,
I want to
right?
get into
Yeah.
it. I want to start to get into Instagram and I was going to say Tinder, Instagram and
You know what?
Twitter.
Yeah, promote my podcast on Tinder. The next time you have
Maybe
a
that's why I'm not getting any hits.
next time you have a patient, you put some headphones on and you make them listen to this podcast.
Okay. And when we get to the hour and 10-minute mark about the anal.
Yeah, let me take that out.
Right. All right. Well,
Anyways.
I don't know how you wrap it up. I guess you do your own thing.
Yes, you sit there, and I'll sit here and talk for another 10 minutes. Guys, I want to thank Dean for letting me use his apartment. No, it was great. Hey, guys, this is the Pocket Party. Once again, I want to thank you for listening. If you went this far, you went deep with the brother. You went deep. So thank you. Give the podcast a review. Give it 5 stars. Go on YouTube. Go on iTunes. Share it. Tell a friend. And I'm serious, man. Every time I do this, if I can get just 3 of you guys to do that, that'd be awesome. And we're in this together, the early stages of this podcast, man. Love you guys. Thank you so much. Dean, thank you. And we'll see you guys soon.
Thank you so much, Darren, for
Party
having me, by the
starter.
way.
We out. Yeah, thank you. All right, man. So, dude, thank you very much, man, for doing the podcast. How'd you feel about it? What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do right now? Are you gonna go work out?
No, I did my fucking running, man.
So this is it. So when I leave, you're just gonna.
I'm gonna take a shower, make some food, make a little bit more food. And what'd you think, man?
I think you did good, man. I think you did good. I know. How many podcasts have you been on?
This is it, my first one.
This your first one?
Yeah.
Oh shit, dude, you fucking did great. Seriously, man. You know what it is? It's like it's your first time.